Oh, we got turnage. What's up, guys? Welcome to the channel. This is episode 2 of Project Scrappy. Now, if you haven't watched the first video, I encourage you to click on this wherever it is and watch that video before going into this one. This is part 2. We are going to be going into the drivetrain of this F-150 narrow track chassis, and we're going to be trying to get this old 1957 F-head 134 motor to run. Now, in its heyday, it made arguably 70 to 75 horsepower with about 115 foot-pounds of torque. Probably doesn't make that anymore 68 odd years later, but I was told when I got it that it did turn over. We are going to be verifying that today, and we're going to be going through and basically trying to condition the motor prior to getting it, prior to applying power to it to turn it over and crank that starter on it. So stay tuned, cool your ash, pack your trash. Let's dive into this old motor. Now, I've already pulled these plugs and done some stuff to it, but obviously the first step on getting an old motor to start again, or at least see how its condition is going to be to pull the plugs, because the plugs are a really good indication of what the vehicle's health is. Now, these plugs are a little wet because I've been pouring some mystery oil in the cylinder walls or wells, but when I got them, they were very dry and pretty crusty. So I pulled all 4 of these plugs, so we'll go ahead and we'll do that real quick. I'll just set them on the valve cover. The good thing about these motors, they're so easy to work on. All right. Now we're going to be taking mystery oil and we're going to be pouring it into these 4 spark plug wells. And the idea is to fill up the wells with oil, which over time, between 24 and 48 hours, will seep through and free up anything that's been stuck or corroded over time. Because this engine has been sitting a while. There is oil in the bottom, but all the oil drains down with time, leaving all this stuff to get pretty dry. So we'll do that. Got our Marvel mystery oil, no big deal. Need to pop that. I got new spark plugs coming, so. And then we're gonna get our funnel and we're just gonna fill these up. Now you'll notice I skipped hole 3, and that is because the exhaust valve in there is open right now. So when I pour oil in, I don't know if you heard that, it just came out the exhaust. So using my flashlight, I can see that the oil is up to the top on 3 out of the 4. Obviously that one, it's not going to happen because it's closed, but we'll deal with that later. You'll see the rest of these spark plugs. This is a good example. It's just really dry. It's not horrible actually, but it could be better. Now, next we're going to be taking this Marvel mystery oil and we're going to be pouring it down the dipstick into the engine block itself. The reason we're using Marvel mystery oil is it's just a really good lubricant. It's also good at freeing up stuck parts. So we're going to throw this down in there. And then obviously we're not going to leave it in there. We're going to put it in with the oil. We're going to crank it over a couple times. We're going to let it sit, and then we're going to drain it all and replace it with fresh oil. Again, I've already added some oil, so just add in a little more. And we seem to be sitting at full. Mostly Marvel mystery oil, but there's also some 10W30 high mileage synthetic oil in there as well. So we're gonna let all that sit for the next 24, 36 hours probably. Now, as I kind of touched on in a few of my other videos, the goal is gonna be to do some basic maintenance. This is a budget build. I'm not trying to dump a lot of money into that. That being said, we do want to switch the generator over to a 12-volt alternator. I do want to replace the starter with a Toyota Land Cruiser low reduction or gear reduction starter like a mini starter, but way cheaper than the ones they make for the Willys. And we're gonna be doing some maintenance on the hoses, the belts, probably fixing the original radiator, getting that to go flow more or less good. And we have a lot of work to do in a separate video on the transmission and the bell housing with the clutch. The clutch is completely frozen up. It's dried out, rusted solid. It don't move. So I'm gonna eventually, we'll do that in a whole separate video. We're gonna pull the whole transmission off with the bell housing and the transfer case. We're gonna go through all of that, do some rebuilding, do some cleaning, and getting that all freed up and running properly. That's another video, that's another time. Right now we're focusing on F-134, which I don't know much about, but we're gonna get it to run. All right, so next step, I'm just gonna try real quick to see if this thing turns at all. It's been soaking a little bit, so let's give it a shot. Oh, we got turnage. Nothing to see here. That was fine. That's fine. Everything's fine. Wasn't expecting that. Drivetrain. Now I got my buddy Brody coming over. He'll be over in like 10 minutes, and we're gonna actually put some power to this engine, give it some fuel, and see if we can get it to spark up and crank over on its own. So fingers crossed. This is the big test, guys. And then after that, we're just gonna start doing a whole series of going through the whole thing and getting it all together and cleaned up and running good and drive it. All right, so we're gonna basically take power and put it to here. This is the starter. Hopefully it starts. And it's gonna crank it over. We're gonna give it some fuel through the carb and see what it does.
Like, it kind of rusted inside of there, and it just didn't really get a good connection.
Nada.
Nada. Oh, that's wrong wire.
Oh. What's that?
That's good.
Do we want to switch to the solenoid? Oh! Where's that coming? Oh, that's coming from the exhaust. There's a hole in the exhaust. All right.
Coming out the exhaust. Oh,
it's rusted out and there's fluid in the cylinder wells. Well, we got turnage, along with a whole lot of melting.
Yeah, this wire is too small. You can feel how hot it got.
Yeah. Oh yeah, it got hot. And it's all melted. All right. So thicker wire.
Yeah, thicker wire should do it.
Well, you want to do jumper cables? Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not getting enough power. Like, bigger wires.
Yep. Why aren't the jumper cables working though? Okay, so I had to run to the store real quick to pick up some extended length battery cables, battery terminal cables, 4 gauge, because this 12 gauge, I was hoping it'd work. I should have known better. It didn't work. Brody had to leave. Unfortunately, he's my wealth of knowledge when it comes to the FCs, but he gave me some tips. So we're gonna try to get this going. We got the motor to turn briefly, but we were melting our cables that we were using to power, and we were having a hard time finding a good ground. So I got these picked up. We're gonna go put them in spots and get it all working right. I did notice that the solenoid doesn't seem to be working. I did bypass that. Whether that's good or not, I don't know. We are gonna be replacing that starter with a Toyota starter. That'll be a whole separate video. But for now, we're gonna get to work for our needs. We're gonna hook up these battery cables, find a good ground, and hopefully get this thing to turn on. So give me a minute. Okay, so what I did, I hooked this battery cable, the ground, to the bell housing. I cleaned it up with a wire wheel, and then it should connect right here. All right, so we got a ground. Ignore all these wires. These are for something else. We got to get rid of that. I'm going to take that off. Ignore this lead. We don't need that right now. And this is going to be for later when we try and turn on the motor. This is a lead for the ignition coil. So we'll use that later when we try to turn the motor on. Put that out of the way. Take that out of the way. You always want a clean working space, which I never seem to have. All right. So next, we're going to take this positive cable and I'm going to connect it to the battery and then tap it to that and see what happens. This could be really bad or really good. Okay, so I figured out a much safer way to do this, and this is the proper way, more than likely. I ran the power cable, the positive, to the solenoid and attached a lead from the solenoid main to the ignition. And when I run that, we got a lot more turnage happening. So I'm liking that a lot better. So I've cranked it over a couple times. Everything's turning right. We're putting fluid out. The reason why fluid's coming out the bottom is I drained mystery oil down into the cylinder chambers, and there's a big hole in the exhaust actually on the manifold. So all that fluid is getting pumped out and it's dumping out the exhaust. So I got the engine to start turning over. Now we got to plug the wires back in for the ignition and run a line as well to the ignition coil so that gets power, so we get spark. And we're gonna try and use some starting fluid to see if it'll at least pop or crank or something like that. So fingers crossed, here we go. Nothing. Okay, so we're able to diagnose with this test light that the ignition coil is getting power, and power is going through the ignition coil wire to the distributor. The part where we're having issues is the distributor is not sending power to the spark plugs. Now, we checked the inside and it looks pretty new, but for some reason I think that's the wrong kind of cap or something because it's been changed and it's not making connection as it's spinning. It is spinning. So we're gonna have to figure that out, or I'm gonna have to figure that out because it's just me right now, and see if we can get power to go over to the spark plugs so we can get power! You know what I mean. All right, let's work on that. Okay, I'll be honest, it's been a minute. It's been a couple hours. I found out, I don't remember where I'm at in this video, but I found out that this distributor, the rotor is not touching the cap as it spins. I did verify the rotor is spinning, and I did verify that we have power going to the ignition coil all the way to the cap. It's just not coming from the cap to the spark plug. So that indicates there's an issue with the rotor, which would make sense because there's some grooves on the points and the rotor doesn't appear to be engaging those points. So I looked up, long story short, I looked up F134 motor, what distributor caps and rotors go to that one. It showed me two different styles. The one that said it was specifically for the FC150, I went and bought. And it looks like this right here. And well, it didn't fit my distributor essentially. So not sure what happened. But then I went and just got the other one from Napa. And this one is part number AL110 and the other one's AL104. Don't quote me on that. And this one matches. It says it's for 1960s CJ, not the 57 FC, but it fits what I got, so I'm not complaining. I'm gonna toss this bad boy on and see if it fixes my issue. Hopefully it does. Ready. Now I gotta transfer all this. I have new wires coming, but I did verify these wires do work. So for now it should be okay. Now I gotta transfer these over exactly as they go. Just get that out of the way. Listen. Put the middle in. And now we pray for a miracle. Not seeing any spark. The condenser and the distributor tested bad, so I replaced that $12 part. I also checked the points here. It's 2 screws that adjust, one to loosen, one to adjust, and at maximum opening, the points are supposed to be 20 thousandths, don't quote me on the number, something like that apart, and they were way more than that. They're like 40 or 50, so I adjusted it back to 20 thousandths and tighten that back down. I think I said this already, but I replaced the rotor, I replaced the cap. All that's done. All right, well, let's see if this thing works. First, I'll try cranking. All right, we got crankage. Next, we'll see if we're getting spark. With my test light. Nope, it's not showing a light. No light. So as you can tell from the ambiance, there was a little behind the camera scenes action. About to show you what that action was. But essentially, we realized the plugs were in the wrong spot and the timing on the distributor was way off. So we just did, I had Brian from Auto Haven, a local shop. He's a good friend of mine. He came by, worked some wonders, and we found out it was getting spark. It just the timing was too off. So we adjusted the distributor, made some changes to how the ignition coil is getting power by running it to constant power after all. That turns out it works better. Now I'm gonna pour some fuel in there and show you something. I'm gonna make some magic happen here, folks. And there you have it. We have a running, functioning motor. That's all I got, guys. Stay tuned for the rest of the build series. Cool your ash, pack your trash. I'll see you on the trails. Contact. Alright, it's all that good.
Does that sound a little better?
It sounds like a runt. Alright. I saw that hammer, like, oh shit. Oh, good times.